One of the least cool sounding, but most important things in your duties as a local administrator is going to be setting up the computers for your other staff. Previous to Evergreen ILS 3.0, staff members accessed the software using an application called the Staff Client. It was downloaded on each computer that would be using it. Evergreen, Indiana now uses a custom version of version 3.2, which utilizes something called a web client. Because I have been accessing this for so many years, I default to calling it the staff client and know in my mind that the staff client was actually something that was downloaded on those computers. And now, while it is still a staff client, it's also on the web and it's not something that you have to download. So I will use staff client and web client and client interchangeably. If that gets confusing at some point, call me out on it. This means that the software is no longer installed locally, with a minor exception. We'll talk about that later. Instead, it is accessed remotely using a web browser and a URL. For your day-to-day work, you will access the Evergreen ILS by going to evergreen.lib.in.us/eg/staff. We'll be talking about some other servers today, and we already talked a little bit about the training server. It's important to note that each time we want to access the web client on those various servers, we'll just add the /eg/staff to the domain. For instance, you can see here, it talks about the training server, which is training.evergreen.lib.in, whereas the production just doesn't have the training before that. If you just type in evergreen.lib.in.us, this will likely take you to the public side of the ILS or the OPAG. This slide right here is intended as a quick reference for those things that we're gonna cover next. So accessing the client, we're going to go to the website, and then we're going to encounter this screen if this is the first time that it has been accessed on this specific computer. So one of the primary roles that local admins play in their libraries is setting up accounts and workstations for library personnel. We'll talk later about staff accounts, but for the time being, we will assume that at the very least, the local admin's staff account has been set up, and that's something that's done here at the Indiana State Library. When going to evergreen.lib.in.us/eg/staff for the first time on a computer, the initial screen will be a login screen asking for a username and password. In the future, please note that having only these two fields is an indication that this computer does not have a workstation set up and will require local admin attention. Only individuals with local admin permissions can set up workstations. Another thing I want to remind you is that there needs to be a local administrator in every Evergreen library. I know that there can be, oftentimes, especially in smaller libraries, there may only be one. When there is staff turnover, this can be an issue. So I don't know what's going on in anybody's life or anything like that, but if you are the sole local admin and you're going to leave for whatever reason, please keep in mind that each library needs to have one. And so perhaps as part of a succession plan, whether you need it or not right now, have somebody that can function as your backup for local admin. Now I say that, and if that doesn't happen, of course, there's going to be support from us at the State Library for your library as well. When you get to this screen, you're going to enter your login credentials and click Sign In. And it's going to take you to this screen that says, please register a workstation. In the field, this is going to take you to another page, which we'll see it better displayed in a moment. In the field labeled Workstation Name, enter a brief but descriptive name for the workstation. This should be unique from all the other workstations at your library location. And then click Register. Immediately, the workstation name will be added to the list located under workstations registered with this browser. Evergreen ILS utilizes the capabilities of the web browser to store certain settings when registering workstations. This becomes important if you ever have to reinstall a browser. Sometimes if you clear the cache or if you decide to disable certain types of cookies in that browser, you may need to re-register a workstation. After you have clicked Register, then you'll click Use Now. In a moment, I'll cover having multiple workstations at a computer terminal. In that case, you may need to select the appropriate workstation from that field by clicking the down arrow. But with only one workstation set up so far, you can immediately click Use Now. This will take you back to the login screen. Notice that there is an additional field now, Workstation, which has been added. Now, anyone with login credentials can use Evergreen ILS.